Listen well, children of the new dawn, to this tale of Chidi the builder, whose calloused hands held more honor than all the gold bangles in the city. For as our grandmothers say, the person who mocks the mason today may need him to build their house tomorrow. This is a story of pride that became dust, and dust that became a mansion. This is a story of how the ancestors answer those who forget that all honest work is sacred. Gather close, for karma has a long memory and perfect timing. The morning sun painted Lagos in shades of orange and gold as Chidi Okafor climbed down from the Molu bus, his work boots heavy with yesterday's cement dust. He was 32 years old, built like the buildings he helped create, solid, dependable, weathered by sun and labor. His hands were rough, permanently stained with the marks of his trade, cement under the nails, calluses on the palms, small scars mapping years of honest work. Chidi, my brother, called Emeka from the construction site gate, already in his orange safety vest. You don ready for today? Big pouring day oh. Chidi smiled, adjusting the canvas bag that carried his lunch, his wife Ngozi's jollof rice wrapped carefully in foil, still warm from the morning fire. When am I ever not ready? This building won't raise itself. The site was a growing thing, a skeleton of what would become a 20-story office complex in Victoria Island. Chidi had worked on it for 8 months now, watching it rise floor by floor, his muscles and sweat mixed into every level. He was a foreman now, respected by the laborious, trusted by the engineers. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was honest work, and Chidi carried himself with the quiet dignity of a man who knew his worth wasn't measured in his bank account. His father, Chief Okafor, had told him long ago, "Chidi, my son, there is no shame in any work that feeds your family and harms no one. The man who builds is closer to the creator than the man who only talks about building." Way come back family. To Tales by Dom, we are glad to have you back. Sit still and grab a drink as you enjoy this story. If you are new to this channel, kindly click on the subscribe button for new uploads. Now let's continue. Chidi had held on to those words through the years when former classmates from King's College had moved into banking, oil and gas, tech startups. When he saw their posts on social media, trips to Dubai, new Mercedes, designer labels, he felt a twinge, yes, but never shame. He had Ngozi, who loved him. He had his 2 daughters, Chiamaka and Adiz, who ran to him each evening despite his dusty clothes. He had his mother's respect and his father's pride. He had enough. The workday began as it always did, safety briefing, equipment check, the familiar rhythm of construction. Chidi moved among the workers, checking reinforcement bars, consulting blueprints, solving problems. The site manager, Mr. Chen, a Chinese contractor, often said, "Chidi, you have builder's eye. You see what others miss." By midday, Chidi sat in the shade with his crew, sharing Ngozi's jollof rice because she always packed extra, knowing he would share. The men ate together, talking about football, politics, the rising cost of Gary, the usual music of working men's conversation. "Oga Chidi," said Tunde, a young laborer, "my sister wants to marry a man. He works in bank. Fine suit every day. But the man has no respect for people. Always talking down. Should she marry him?" Chidi chewed thoughtfully. "Tell your sister what my father told me. A man who respects only those above him and disrespects those below him is standing on quicksand. When the ground shifts, he will have no one to catch him. Character is the foundation. Everything else is just decoration." The men nodded, absorbing the wisdom. This was why they respected Chidi, not just his skill, but his character. He never shouted unless safety demanded it. He never took credit for their work. He never treated them as less than human. "Oya, break time done." Chidi stood, brushing off his trousers. "This concrete won't pour itself. We have deadline to meet." As the afternoon wore on, Chidi's phone buzzed in his pocket. He wiped his hands on his already dusty trousers and checked the screen. WhatsApp message from the King's College class of 2008 group. King's College class of 2008 to 15-year reunion. Date, this Saturday. Venue, Eco Hotel and Suites. Time, 6 p.m. Theme, black tie, show us what you've become. RSVP, click link below. Chidi stared at the message. 15 years. Had it really been that long since he'd walked those school corridors, young and full of dreams? He scrolled through the responses. Adekunle, investment banker, wouldn't miss it. Just closed a $20 million deal. Champagne's on me. Tolu, oil and gas executive flying in from Abuja. Can't wait to see everyone. Zainab, fashion entrepreneur darlings. I'll be there in my latest collection. Hope you're all ready to be amazed. Chidi's thumb hovered over the screen. Part of him wanted to go, to see old friends, remember shared youth, reconnect. Another part hesitated. He had no luxury car to pose with, no designer suit, no impressive title. Just himself. That evening, he showed Ngozi the invitation. She was stirring egusi soup, their daughters doing homework at the small dining table in their modest two-bedroom flat in Soyalir. Will you go? Ngozi asked, not looking up from her pot. I don't know. What would I even say? Hello everyone, I mix concrete for a living. Ngozi stopped stirring and turned to face her husband. She was beautiful in the way that mattered. Kind eyes, strong spirit, hands that had worked alongside his to build their life. Chidi Okafor, when I married you, was it because of your job title? No, but when your daughters look at you, do they see a failure? Of course not, but when your workers respect you, when Mr. Chen trusts you with his biggest projects, when your parents sleep peacefully knowing their son is a man of honor, is that nothing? Chidi was quiet. Ngozi came close, touching his face with her soup-scented hand. My husband, you teach our daughters that honest work is honorable. If you hide from your classmates, what lesson does that teach? That we should be ashamed of who we are. You're right, Chidi said softly. As always, you're right. Besides, Ngozi smiled mischievously, I want to see these amazing people. And I want them to see that the construction worker married a queen. Chidi laughed, pulling her close despite her protests about the soup. Saturday evening arrived too quickly. Chidi stood before their bedroom mirror in his one good suit, not designer, but clean and well-fitted, bought for his wedding 5 years ago. Ngozi wore a simple but elegant Ankara dress she'd sewn herself, her hair braided beautifully. We look good, she declared. We look like ourselves, Chidi corrected. Which is enough. The Uber ride to Eco Hotel felt like a journey to another world. Chidi's daily landscape was construction sites and Molu buses. This was gleaming towers and BMWs. As they entered the hotel's grand ballroom, Chidi's heart hammered. The room blazed with success. Former classmates sparkled in designer everything: Gucci bags, Rolex watches, Brazilian hair, tailored suits that cost more than Chidi earned in 3 months. The air smelled of expensive perfume and even more expensive wine. Chidi? Chidi Okafor. A portly man approached, squinting. Is that really you? Adekunle. Chidi embraced his former deskmate. How far, my brother? Ideo. Investment banking treating me well. Adekunle's smile was warm, genuine. This your wife? Beautiful. Come, let me introduce you around. For a while, it was good. Chidi reconnected with old friends, laughed at shared memories, met spouses, and heard stories. Some classmates were genuinely interested in his work, asking intelligent questions about construction, nodding with respect. But then Zainab arrived. She entered like a queen granting audience, dripping in gold jewelry, her outfit a dazzling display of her own fashion line, her makeup flawless, her hair an elaborate weave that probably cost more than Chidi's monthly salary. Behind her trailed 2 friends, equally adorned, equally sharp. Darlings. Zainab's voice cut through the chatter. The party has arrived. People gravitated toward her. In school, Zainab had been popular, beautiful, connected, always at the center. 15 years had polished her into something more, successful, wealthy, and carrying her prosperity like a weapon. Let's go around, someone suggested. Everyone share what they're doing now. One by one, classmates stood and announced their achievements. CEO of this. Director of that. Senior partner. Entrepreneur. Philanthropist. The air grew thick with accomplishments. When Chidi's turn came, he stood. I'm Chidi Okafor. I work in construction. I'm a foreman on a project in Victoria Island. The room was quiet for a beat. Then Adekunle said warmly, That's great, man. Construction is vital work. But Zainab's voice rang out, sharp and clear, Wait. Construction? Like manual labor? Like you're out there in the sun, mixing cement. Yes, Chidi said evenly. I oversee the work, but I do physical labor too. I build things. Zainab's laugh was like breaking glass. Oh my God. Chidi, I remember you. You were always so average. But I thought at least you'd end up in management or something. You mean you're still doing labor? Her friends giggled. Ngozi's hand tightened on Chidi's arm. It's honest work, Chidi said quietly. Honest. Zainab's eyes widened in mock sympathy. Oh sweetheart. Of course it's honest. But look at you. She gestured at her own outfit. In school, we were equals. Now, you're out there sweating in the sun while well, look at me. I own 3 boutiques. I dress governors' wives. I just bought my 3rd car, a Range Rover Sport. And you're building things with your hands. The room had gone silent. Some classmates looked uncomfortable. Others watched with the fascination of witnessing a car crash. Zainab, that's enough, Adikal said quietly. But Zainab was just warming up. No, it's fine. I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, Chidi, what happened? You were smart in school. How did you end up as a laborer? Did something go wrong? Family problems? Couldn't afford university. I went to university, Chidi said, his voice still controlled. University of Lagos. Civil engineering. Civil engineering. Zainab gasped. And you're a construction worker? Oh darling, that's even sadder. You have a degree and you're still mixing cement? What a waste. She turned to her friends, loud enough for everyone to hear. Can you imagine? All that education just to end up dirty and sweaty every day. I could never. I can't even remember the last time I sweated. Air conditioning everywhere. Ngozi stood abruptly. We should go. No, don't go. Zainab cooed with false sweetness. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm just being real. Chidi, sweetie, if you ever need a loan to start a proper business, let me know. I'd hate to think of you growing old doing manual labor. So undignified. Chidi looked at Zainab for a long moment. He saw the designer clothes, the expensive jewelry, the perfectly made-up face. And he saw something else, a hollowness behind the eyes, a brittleness in the laughter, a desperation in the need to elevate herself by standing on others. Thank you for your concern, Zainab, he said quietly. I wish you well. He took Ngozi's hand and walked out of the ballroom with his head high and his dignity intact. But inside, something hurt. Not shame. He wasn't ashamed of his work. But the disrespect, the mockery, the public humiliation before people he'd once called friends, it stung like cement dust in an open wound. In the Uber home, Ngozi held his hand tightly. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Chidi said, maybe I should have stayed home. No, Ngozi said fiercely. You did nothing wrong. That woman, she has money but no manners. Wealth without character. My mother always said, the loudest wealth is often the most fragile. At home, Chidi couldn't sleep. He stood on their small balcony, looking at the Lagos night sky, thinking about Zainab's words, about the laughter, about the pity in people's eyes. And somewhere in the spirit realm, in the place where ancestors watch the living, a stirring began. For mockery, when directed at honest labor and humble dignity, awakens forces older than money, stronger than pride. Karma was listening. And karma had perfect timing. What does this remind you of from your own heritage? In your community, how do elders teach respect for all honest work, regardless of social status? What ancestral forces has Zainab's mockery awakened? How will karma answer her disrespect? And what hidden destiny awaits Chidi that even he doesn't yet know? The Monday after the reunion, Chidi woke before dawn as always, but something felt different. He couldn't name it, just a peculiar heaviness in the air, like the atmosphere before a storm that hasn't yet shown itself. Ngozi stirred beside him. You didn't sleep well. Bad dreams, he said, though he couldn't remember them. Only fragments, Zainab's laughter echoing in empty rooms, buildings collapsing into dust, his father's voice saying something he couldn't quite hear. The ancestors are speaking, Ngozi said softly. She came from a family of Dibia, traditional healers, and sometimes she knew things. When dreams are unclear, it means the message is still forming. Be watchful today. At the construction site, Mr. Chen called Chidi into the site office before work began. Chidi, I have news, the Chinese contractor said, his usually stern face softened by what looked like respect. The client has been watching our progress. They're very impressed. Specifically, they asked about you. Chidi's heart quickened. Me. They said the work is exceptional quality. They want to meet the foreman who ensures such standards. Mr. Chen smiled. A rare thing. This could be very good for you. The client is a major developer. If they like you, many doors could open. Who is the client? I don't know yet. Very private. But they're coming Thursday to inspect. Make sure everything is perfect. Chidi left the office feeling dizzy. Opportunity was knocking, but he pushed the thought away. Don't count eggs before hatching, his mother always said. Focus on the work at hand. The workday progressed normally until mid-morning when Chidi's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Am I speaking with Mr. Chidi Okafor? A professional female voice. Yes, this is he. My name is Grace. I'm calling from Mandate Property Developers. We have a proposition for you. Can you come to our office tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Chidi's mind raced. Mandate Property Developers, one of the biggest real estate companies in Lagos. May I ask what this is regarding? We'd rather discuss in person. But I can tell you it's a significant opportunity. We've been recommended to you. After he hung up, Chidi stood in the construction site dust, stunned. Emeka approached, concerned. Oga, you don't see ghost? Your face done white. I don't know what I've seen, Chidi said slowly. Meanwhile, across Lagos in her luxury apartment in Ikoyi, Zainab woke to the sound of her phone ringing incessantly. Her head pounded, too much champagne at the reunion, followed by more drinks at Quillock's nightclub. She grabbed her phone and saw 17 missed calls. All from her boutique manager, Shade. This better be good, Zainab snapped when she called back. Madam, we have problemo. Shade's voice was panicked. The containers, the ones from China with the new collection, they've been seized at the port. Zainab sat upright, suddenly alert. Seized? For what? Customs is saying the papers are not complete. They're saying we need to pay duties of 15 million naira before release. 15 million. That's ridiculous. I already paid import duties. I'm just telling you what they're saying, Ma. And madam, the bank called. They said the check you wrote for rent on the Victoria Island store, it bounced. Zainab's blood ran cold. That's impossible. I have money in that account. Maybe you should check, Ma. Zainab pulled up her banking app with shaking hands. The account that should have had 23 million naira showed a balance of 42,000. No. No, no, no. She frantically checked her other accounts. They were all wrong, drastically lower than they should be. She called her bank. Ms. Below, the customer service representative said after checking, your accounts show several large transfers last week. To various investment accounts and I didn't authorize any transfers. They were done through your phone banking app, Ma. With your password and security questions answered correctly. Zainab's hands trembled. Cybercrime. Someone had hacked her accounts. But how? She was careful. Wasn't she? Then she remembered. The reunion. She'd been showing off, letting people hold her phone to see photos of her new Range Rover, her boutiques, her life. Had someone? We're investigating, the bank representative continued, but recovery of transferred funds can take months, even years. In the meantime, your accounts are frozen pending investigation. Zainab ended the call and stared at her apartment ceiling. The expensive chandelier she'd bought to impress visitors, the Italian marble floors, the designer furniture. All bought on credit, on the assumption that money would keep flowing. The assumption that had just shattered. Her phone rang again. The car dealership. The Range Rover payment was overdue. Then the landlord. Rent on the Ikoyi apartment, 2 million naira monthly, was due. Then her credit card company. Several cards were maxed out and payments missed. In one weekend, while Zainab was busy mocking Chidi's honest poverty, her empire of debt disguised as wealth had begun to collapse. She tried calling her friends, the ones who'd laughed along with her at the reunion. Most didn't answer. Those who did offered sympathy but no help. Babes, I would totally help, but I'm cash-strapped right now. Zainab, you know I love you, but 15 million? That's too much. Maybe you should ask your family. Her family. Zainab's success had been her identity, her weapon against the modest background she'd come from. Her parents in Ibadan, her father a retired teacher, her mother a petty trader, had always lived simply. Zainab had spent years distancing herself from that simplicity, building a facade of effortless wealth. How could she tell them she needed help? Pride, that old enemy, whispered, "You can fix this yourself. You don't need anyone." Tuesday afternoon found Chidi in the offices of Mandate Property Developers, a gleaming tower in Victoria Island. He wore his one good suit, freshly pressed by Ngozi, his work boots replaced by the black shoes he wore to church. Grace, the woman who'd called, led him to a conference room where 3 people waited, 2 men in expensive suits and a woman in traditional Iro and Buba of the finest Aso oak. "Mr. Okafor," the woman said, standing to shake his hand. "I am Chief Mrs. Adeyemi. I own Mandate Property Developers." Chidi recognized the name. She was legendary in Lagos real estate, a self-made billionaire who'd started with a single rental property 40 years ago. "Please, sit," she gestured. "We've been watching your work at the Victoria Island site." "Watching, Ma. My son is one of the engineers there. He tells me that you are the reason the project is ahead of schedule and under budget. He says you have integrity, skill, and leadership." Chief Mrs. Adeyemi leaned forward. "Mr. Okafor, I am building a new development, luxury apartments in Lekki. The project manager I hired has proven unsuitable. I need someone I can trust. My son recommended you." Chidi's mouth went dry. "Ma, I'm honored, but I'm a foreman, not a project manager." "Were you not trained as a civil engineer?" "Yes, Ma, but..." "Then you have the knowledge. The rest, the management, the leadership, you already demonstrate these daily. My son says the workers respect you. The contractors trust you. You solve problems before they become crises." She slid a folder across the table. "This is the contract. The salary is 1.2 million naira monthly. The project duration is 18 months. If you deliver on time and within budget, there's a completion bonus of 15 million naira." Chidi stared at the numbers. 1.2 million monthly, more than triple his current salary. 15 million bonus, more money than he'd ever imagined having. "Why me?" he asked. "There are hundreds of qualified project managers in Lagos." Chief Mrs. Adeyemi smiled. "I have been in business for 40 years. I have learned that qualifications on paper mean little compared to character in action. You don't know me, Mr. Okafor, but I know you. I have made inquiries. Your former university professors remember you as exceptional. Your current employer says you are irreplaceable. Your workers say you treat them like human beings. Your neighbors say you are a man of honor. This," she tapped the folder, "is rare. Skills can be taught. Character cannot." "I need to discuss this with my wife," Chidi said. "Of course. Take the folder. Review it. But I need your answer by Friday. Good opportunities don't wait, and neither do I." Chidi floated out of the building, the folder clutched in his hands like a sacred text. He called Ngozi immediately. "They offered me what?" she screamed when he told her the salary. "I know. I can't believe it either." "Chidi, this is the ancestors. This is your father's prayers being answered." That evening, they sat at their small dining table, the contract spread before them, their daughters asleep in the next room. Ngozi read every word while Chidi made calculations in his notebook. "With this salary," he said slowly, "we can move to a better flat. We can save for the girls' university. We can help my parents renovate their house. We can breathe," Ngozi finished. "We can stop counting every naira. But what if I fail?" The fear crept in. "Project manager, that's big responsibility. What if I'm not ready?" Ngozi took his rough, calloused hands in hers. "My husband, you have been ready. You just didn't have the opportunity. Now the door is open. Will you walk through it, or let fear close it? The elders say, the lizard that jumped from the high Iroko tree to the ground said he would praise himself if no one else did." "Exactly," Ngozi smiled. Sometimes you must jump and trust that you can land. While Chidi's life was ascending, Zainab's continued its spiral. By Wednesday, 2 of her 3 boutiques had closed. She couldn't pay rent. Her suppliers were demanding payment for goods delivered months ago. Her Range Rover was repossessed in broad daylight outside her apartment, onlookers recording on their phones as she screamed and cried. The videos went viral. Lagos big girl drama. When you live fake life. Range Rover repossessed. Shide cry. The comments were merciless. All that Shokara, now see her life. This is why I don't trust these Instagram rich people. All NA packaging. She was forming billionaire. Ordinary car payment she no fit pay. Zainab locked herself in her apartment, watching her carefully constructed image crumble online. The friends who'd surrounded her disappeared. The men who'd courted her stopped calling. The socialites who'd posed with her at events suddenly couldn't remember her name. In desperation, she called her parents. Zainab. Her father's voice was cautious. It's been 8 months since we heard from you. Daddy, I need help. She told him everything, the business failures, the debt, the repossessed car, the frozen accounts. She expected judgment, recrimination. Instead, her father was quiet for a long moment. Then, come home. Home? To Ibadan. Yes. Come home. You can stay with us while you sort this out. But Daddy, I can't just, I have my life in Lagos, my reputation. Your reputation. Her father's voice was gentle but firm. My daughter, you called me because your reputation is already gone. What you need now is not more pretense. What you need is truth. Come home. Let us help you remember who you really are. Zainab wanted to refuse, but she had nowhere else to go. The Ikoyi apartment's rent was due, and she couldn't pay. She had maxed out her credit cards buying the designer outfit she'd worn to mock Chidi. The irony was bitter as unripe garden egg. Thursday morning, Chidi arrived at the Victoria Island site for what would be his last day as a foreman. He hadn't yet told Mr. Chen or his crew. He wanted to be certain of the new job first. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi had arranged for him to visit the Lekki site that afternoon to see what he'd be managing. But as he walked through the construction site that had been his workplace for 8 months, something shifted in his chest. He would miss this, the familiar sounds, the crew's banter, the satisfaction of seeing concrete poured and steel raised. Oga Chidi, Tunde approached. You look different today. Happy different. Chidi smiled. Life is changing, Tunde. Good changes. I'm glad, sir. You deserve good things. You treat us like human beings, not like animals. Not every ogre does that. At lunch, Chidi gathered his crew under the shade as usual. But instead of eating immediately, he stood and addressed them. My brothers, I want to tell you something. I'm leaving this site. I've been offered a project manager position. The news created an uproar, congratulations mixed with dismay. Who will replace you? Emeka asked. I don't know yet. But I want to say this. You men are the reason any project succeeds. Not the engineers. Not the managers. You. The ones who mix the concrete, tie the steel, pour the foundation. Never let anyone make you feel your work is shameful. You build the world. Literally. Without you, all the architect's drawings would remain just paper and dreams. The men clapped and cheered. Several had tears in their eyes. And one more thing, Chidi continued. At my new site, I will need workers. Good, honest workers. If you want to come with me, I will speak to the contractor. I take care of those who work with me. More cheers. Emeka started a chant, Oga Chidi. Oga Chidi. Later, at the Lekki site, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi showed Chidi around the vast property where luxury apartments would rise. The scope was breathtaking and intimidating. This is bigger than anything I've managed, Chidi admitted. Good, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi said. If it were easy, I wouldn't need you. I need someone who respects the work, who understands that buildings are only as strong as the integrity of those who build them. My son tells me you pray before each major pour. Is this true? Chidi felt embarrassed. Yes, Ma. I ask the ancestors and God to bless the work and keep the workers safe. Don't be ashamed of this. This is wisdom. We have forgotten, in our modern ways, that all work is spiritual work. That what we build in the physical world must have foundation in the spiritual world. She paused at the site's edge, looking out at the Atlantic Ocean visible in the distance. Mr. Okafor, do you know why I really chose you? No, Ma. Because you were mocked at a class reunion for being a construction worker, and you didn't respond with anger or bitterness. You maintained your dignity. Someone who was there told my son about it. They said they were ashamed they didn't speak up, but you didn't need defending. You defended yourself with silence and grace. Chidi's eyes widened. Someone at the reunion knew Chief Mrs. Adeyemi's son? The woman who mocked you, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi continued. Her name is Zainab Bello, yes. You know her. She approached me last year, wanting me to invest in her fashion business. I declined. Do you know why? Chidi shook his head. Because I asked my assistant to research her. Everything about her business was built on image, on debt, on pretense. No substance. I told her that until she built a foundation of genuine value, I could not invest. She was very angry. Called me old-fashioned. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi smiled. Sometimes the old ways are old because they are true. You cannot build a house starting from the roof. You must start with foundation. She turned to face Chidi directly. I hear her business is collapsing now. The news is all over social media. Do you feel vindicated? Chidi thought carefully. I feel sad for her. She has talent. I remember from school. But she built on sand, and sand cannot hold weight. Exactly. This is why I want you. You understand that foundation matters. Now, will you accept this job? Chidi took a deep breath. Yes, Ma. I accept. They shook hands as the Atlantic wind blew around them, carrying salt and promise. That same afternoon, Zainab packed her remaining belongings into 2 suitcases. Everything else had been sold or repossessed. Her Ikoyi apartment, which had felt so grand just a week ago, now felt like a cage of her own making. Her phone buzzed. Another creditor. She ignored it. As she closed the door for the last time, she passed her neighbor, a banker who'd once envied her lifestyle. Moving? The neighbor asked with barely disguised schadenfreude. Yes, Zainab said quietly. That's too bad. I always wondered how you afforded this place on a boutique owner's income. Now we know, you didn't. The cruelty was a mirror of Zainab's own words to Chidi. But unlike Chidi, Zainab had no grace left to absorb it. She stumbled to the elevator, tears streaming. In the taxi to Ibadan, watching Lagos recede in the rear window, Zainab replayed the reunion in her mind. Chidi's face when she'd mocked him. The laughter she'd enjoyed. The superiority she'd felt. It all tasted like ash now. Her phone buzzed. Instagram notification. Someone had tagged her in a meme, side-by-side photos, her at the reunion in designer everything, and her crying as her Range Rover was towed. Caption, Pride comes before a fall. Lagos edition. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. All laughing at her downfall. Zainab turned off her phone and watched the landscape blur past. Somewhere in her mind, a small voice whispered, this is what you did to him. This is how you made him feel. Now you know. Karma, it seemed, was a master teacher. And the lesson had only just begun. What would your elders say about this choice? Is Zainab's downfall justice, or is there a deeper lesson about how we treat others waiting to be learned? Will Chidi succeed in his new role, or will the pressure prove too great? Can Zainab rebuild from her ruins? And if so, what will it cost her to learn true humility? And what ancestral wisdom is unfolding that neither of them can yet see? 3 months passed like pages turning in a book written by careful hands. Chidi stood in his new site office, a proper office with air conditioning, a desk, and a window overlooking the Lekki construction site, reviewing blueprints. The scope still intimidated him some mornings, but Chief Mrs. Adeyemi had been right. He was ready. The skills he'd honed as a foreman, managing people, solving problems, maintaining quality, translated seamlessly to project management. His crew loved him. Most had followed him from the Victoria Island site, and he'd hired carefully for additional workers. He paid them fairly, fed them well, and treated them with the dignity his father had taught him all workers deserved. The ancestors reward those who honor the sweat of others, his father had said during a recent visit, eyes shining with pride as he toured the site. My son, You are building more than apartments. You are building a legacy of integrity. The project was ahead of schedule. Under budget. Zero safety incidents. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi visited weekly, each time more impressed. Mr. Okafor, she said during one inspection, I have 7 other developments planned. When this one completes, I want you to manage them all. I'm creating a new position, Director of Construction Operations. The salary is 2.5 million monthly. Chidi had to sit down. At home, life had transformed. They'd moved to a 3-bedroom flat in Lekki, close enough that Chidi could walk to the site. Ngozi had enrolled in a fashion design course she'd always dreamed of taking. The girls attended a better school. They weren't rich, not by Lagos standards, but they were comfortable. More importantly, they were at peace. My husband is glowing, Ngozi said one evening, touching his face. This job, it's not just money. It's fulfilling your purpose. It feels right, Chidi agreed. Like I was always meant to be here, I just had to walk through the fire to arrive. But success brought its own tests. One morning, a luxury car pulled up to the construction site. Out stepped Adekunle, Chidi's former classmate from the reunion, the investment banker. Chidi. My guy. Adekunle's embrace was warm. I heard you're the big man now. Project manager for Chief Mrs. Adeyemi herself. They talked in Chidi's office, Adekunle admiring the view, the position, the transformation. I'm happy for you, honestly, Adekunle said. And I'm here to make you even happier. I have an investment opportunity. Ground floor of a fintech startup. Guaranteed returns of 30% in 6 months. I'm bringing in only select people, friends I trust. Minimum investment is 5 million naira. Chidi felt the old instinct rise, the temptation to chase quick wealth, to make up for lost years of modest living. Let me think about it, he said. Don't think too long, Adekunle warned. Opportunity doesn't wait. You know how Lagos is, hesitate and you lose. After Adekunle left, Chidi called his father. Papa, someone offered me an investment. 30% returns in 6 months. What do you think? His father was quiet for a long moment. Then, my son, do you remember the story of MBE the tortoise and the magic purse? Chidi smiled. He did. It was a tale his father had told many times, about how the tortoise found a magic purse that doubled any money placed inside, but only if the owner resisted temptation to take more than they needed. The tortoise's greed led him to keep doubling and doubling until the purse burst and he lost everything. The lesson, Chidi, is this: there is no magic. Real wealth grows slowly, like the Iroko tree, strong roots before tall branches. Quick money is like the plantain, grows fast but shallow roots, easily blown over in storms. You have found good soil with Chief Mrs. Adeyemi. Plant there. Water with your labor. Be patient. Chidi declined Adekunle's offer. 6 weeks later, news broke. The fintech startup was a Ponzi scheme. Adekunle and dozens of others lost everything they'd invested. Some lost more, they'd borrowed to invest, and now faced crushing debt. Adekunle called Chidi, voice broken, you were wise not to invest. I lost 8 million. I don't know how to tell my wife. I'm sorry, my brother, Chidi said genuinely. But you will recover. You have skills, you have knowledge. Money lost can be regained. You know what the elders say, Adekunle replied bitterly. When a man is climbing a ladder and falls, he shouldn't blame the ladder. I was greedy. I wanted fast money. Now I'm paying the price. After the call, Chidi sat quietly, feeling the weight of the lesson. He'd been tempted. He could have lost everything. But his father's wisdom, rooted in ancient understanding that shortcuts usually lead to long delays, had saved him. He whispered a prayer of gratitude to his ancestors. Meanwhile, in Ibadan, Zainab was learning different lessons. Her parents' house was modest, a 3-bedroom bungalow in an ordinary neighborhood, nothing like the Ikoyi luxury she'd grown accustomed to. Her old bedroom still held her secondary school certificates on the wall, her university textbooks on the shelf, memories of the girl she'd been before Lagos polished and hardened her. You can stay as long as you need, her mother said, serving her eba and okra soup for dinner, simple food that tasted like humility. Thank you, Mama, Zainab said quietly. Her father, retired teacher below, watched her with eyes that saw everything. Zainab, I want to show you something tomorrow. Will you come with me? The next morning, he took her to his old school, a public secondary school with peeling paint and crowded classrooms. They sat in the teacher's lounge where he'd spent 35 years shaping young minds. You see that, teacher? He pointed to a young woman writing on a blackboard visible through the window. That is Blessing. She was my student 15 years ago. Her parents couldn't afford her school fees. I paid them from my salary, small, month by month. She didn't know it was me until she graduated and I told her. Why are you telling me this, Daddy? Because Blessing is now a teacher here, doing the same for her students. Because real wealth is not what you have, it's what you give that multiplies beyond you. He turned to face his daughter. You built a business on image. On looking wealthy rather than being valuable. The moment the image cracked, everything fell. Do you understand why? Zainab's eyes filled with tears. Because I had no foundation. Exactly. Your mother and I are not rich. But we are respected. People come to us with problems because we have wisdom to give, not money to lend. This respect, it cannot be repossessed. It cannot be hacked from an account. It cannot depreciate with economic downturn. This is the wealth you should have pursued. The words cut deep because they were true. For weeks, Zainab helped her mother at the market, selling provisions, Gary, rice, beans. The work was humbling. Her hands, once manicured to perfection, grew rough. Her expensive clothes gave way to simple Ankara. People who'd followed her on Instagram for luxury content unfollowed when she posted a photo of herself at the market stall. Her remaining friends from Lagos sent mocking messages. Zainab the big girl is now selling Gary. From Range Rover to Madam, how much is your rice? What a downgrade. This is what happens when you live above your means. Pride kills. Each message was a mirror reflecting her own cruelty to Chidi. Now she understood how her mockery had felt, like public flogging, like being stripped naked in the marketplace of opinion. One afternoon, an elderly customer came to the stall. Mama Ejide, a woman known in the neighborhood for her wisdom. You are Teacher Below's daughter, Mama Ejide said, not a question but a statement. Yes, Ma. The one who had the big business in Lagos that collapsed. Zainab felt shame burn her face. Yes, Ma. Mama Ejide studied her for a long moment. Child, do you know the proverb, the tree that grows in the forest stands tall because many trees around it stand tall together? No, Ma. It means no one rises alone. Your mistake was not pursuing success. It was pursuing success as separation from community, from your roots, from the values your parents taught you. You used your success as a weapon to cut others down, to elevate yourself by standing on their backs. The ancestors don't bless such success. They allow it to collapse so you can rebuild properly. How do I rebuild properly, Ma? You are doing it now. Honest work. Humble service. Learning that you are not better than the woman selling vegetables beside you, or the man carrying cement at a construction site. Mama Ejide paid for her provisions and turned to leave, then paused. The person you mocked at your reunion, the construction worker, I hear he's doing very well now. Project manager for a big company. The ancestors honored his humility while they tested your pride. Think on that. After Mama Ejide left, Zainab stood frozen. Chidi was thriving. The man she'd humiliated for being a construction worker was now succeeding while she, who'd mocked him, was selling Gary in Ibadan. The irony was so sharp it drew blood. That night, she asked her father, Daddy, do you believe in karma? In the ancestors punishing wrongdoing? I believe in consequences, her father said. Every action creates ripples. You mocked a man for honest work. What message did that send to the universe? That you valued appearance over substance, status over character. The universe then taught you that such values are hollow. Not punishment, Zainab. Education. How do I learn the lesson? You are already learning. But learning is not enough. You must also make amends. How? I can't even afford transport back to Lagos, much less find Chidi to apologize. The universe will provide the way when you are ready to walk it. For now, keep learning humility. Keep remembering that all honest work is sacred. Keep understanding that the person you are is more important than the things you have. Zainab wept that night, Not tears of self-pity, but tears of genuine remorse. She thought of Chidi's face at the reunion, the quiet dignity he'd maintained while she shredded him publicly. She thought of his wife, holding his hand, supporting him despite poverty. She thought of everything she'd lost chasing the wrong prizes. Back in Lagos, Chidi faced a different kind of test. The luxury apartment project was nearing completion when Chief Mrs. Adeyemi called him to her office with urgent news. "We have a problem," she said, her face grave. "One of the investors, a very powerful man, is demanding we cut corners on the remaining units. Use cheaper materials, reduce foundation depth, skip certain safety features. He says it will save 15 million naira and no one will know the difference. But the difference will show in 5 years when cracks appear, in 10 years when the structure weakens," Chidi protested. "Chief, these are people's homes. We can't compromise safety for profit." "I agree. But this investor has connections. He's threatening to pull out entirely, and he controls 40% of the project funding. If he withdraws, we may not be able to complete." Chidi felt the weight of the decision. Compromise his principles and save the project, or maintain integrity and risk everything collapsing. He thought of his father's words. "A building is only as strong as its foundation." This applies to structures and to men. "Chief," Chidi said carefully, "if we compromise the building's integrity, we compromise our own. If this building fails in the future and people are hurt or killed, how will we sleep? Money lost can be regained. Lives lost cannot. Reputation destroyed cannot be rebuilt." Chief Mrs. Adeyemi smiled, the smile of someone whose test had been passed. "This is exactly what I hoped you would say. The investor was a fiction. I invented him to test you. Because I am about to make you director of all my construction operations. I needed to know, when money and integrity conflict, which would you choose?" Chidi sat down, legs weak. "You tested me. As my father tested me when I was young. As the ancestors test all of us. You passed, Mr. Okafor. You chose correctly. This is why you will succeed where others fail. You understand that true success must be built on truth." She handed him a new contract. 2.5 million naira monthly. Oversight of all my developments. Company car. Housing allowance. Medical insurance for your family. And one more thing. She pulled out a deed. "This land in Lekki Phase 2. I'm giving it to you. Build your own house there. Not as payment. You'll earn that through your salary. This is a gift because you remind me of my late husband. He too was a builder who refused to compromise. Build your family home on this land, Chidi. Build it with the same integrity you bring to my projects." Chidi couldn't speak. The land alone was worth over 30 million naira. "Chief, I don't know what to say. Say you'll continue to be the man you are. Say you'll teach your daughters what your father taught you. Say you'll remember that all success is temporary, but integrity is eternal. I promise, Ma." That evening, Chidi brought Ngozi to see the land, a full plot in one of Lagos's most desirable areas. They stood on the red earth, holding hands, watching the sunset paint the sky. "We will build here," Chidi said. "A house for our family. Our daughters will grow up here. Our grandchildren will play here. And every brick will be laid with integrity, every beam raised with gratitude." Ngozi wept with joy. "Your father must be smiling in heaven." "Not heaven," Chidi corrected gently. "He's still alive, remember? But yes, he's smiling. And so are the ancestors who guided me here." As they drove home in Chidi's new company car, a Toyota Camry, modest but his, Ngozi asked, "Do you ever think about that woman? Zainab? The one who mocked you?" "Sometimes," Chidi admitted. "I pray for her, actually." "You pray for someone who humiliated you." "She taught me something important, that other people's opinions of me have no power unless I give them power." Her mockery stung. "Yes. But it also showed me that I needed to value myself for who I am, not for what others think I should be." In a strange way, her cruelty was a gift. It burned away my insecurity. "You are a better person than I am," Ngozi said. "I still want to find her and tell her about your success, just to see her face." Chidi laughed. "The elders say, the antelope does not boast to the grass that it has grown tall. Let my life speak for itself. If Zainab ever learns of my success, I hope it teaches her something valuable, not just makes her envious. You hope she learns from karma, not just suffers from it. Exactly. Because karma is a teacher, not a torturer. The lesson is meant to transform, not destroy. In Ibadan, transformation was indeed occurring. After 3 months of market work, genuine humility was beginning to take root in Zainab's heart. She'd learned the names of fellow market women, heard their stories, discovered that richness of spirit had nothing to do with bank account balance. Mama Kudi, who sold vegetables in the stall beside theirs, had 7 children, all in school, all thriving, despite modest means. Her secret? I invest in people, not in image. My wealth is in my children's education, my community's respect, my husband's trust. These cannot be repossessed. Sister Bola, who sold fabrics, had been wealthy once but lost everything in a bad investment. I learned that when you fall, you discover who your real friends are. Turns out I had 3 real friends and 50 fake ones. The 3 helped me stand again. The 50 disappeared. Now I'm careful about who I call friend. From these women, Zainab learned the proverbs her Lagos life had drowned out. The hand that gives is above the hand that receives, but both hands must remain clean. A good name is better than silver and gold. The lizard that jumped from the Iroko tree praised himself because no one else would, but the lizard also landed safely because he jumped with preparation, not pride. One Saturday, her father took her to a community meeting where local people gathered to solve neighborhood problems. Watching them work together, the mechanic, the teacher, the trader, the doctor, all contributing equally, Zainab finally understood Ubuntu, the philosophy her business school professors had taught but she'd never internalized. I am because we are. Daddy, she said afterward, I want to start again. Not in Lagos. Here. Something real this time. What will you do? I know fashion. I know fabrics. But this time, I want to create something that serves the community, not my ego. Maybe a training center, teaching young girls how to sew, how to build genuine fashion businesses with real foundations. Her father's eyes shone. Now you are thinking like someone who has learned. What will you call it? Zainab thought for a moment. Second chances. Because that's what I'm getting. What we all deserve. Second chances must be earned, not just given, her father cautioned. Are you willing to earn it? Yes, Daddy. I am. But even as Zainab planned her humble new beginning, she carried a weight in her heart, the memory of her cruelty to Chidi, the karma she'd created that she had not yet truly resolved. The universe, it seemed, was not yet done teaching. And the final lesson would require Zainab and Chidi to meet again. In your tradition, how do elders teach that true wealth is measured? What stories do they tell about the difference between having much and being much? How will Zainab and Chidi's paths cross again? What will happen when the woman who mocked him faces the man who has risen while she has fallen? And what ancestral wisdom waits to be revealed when they meet once more? 6 months after the reunion that changed everything, fate began weaving its threads toward a meeting neither Zainab nor Chidi expected. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi called Chidi to her office on a bright Monday morning. Mr. Okafor, I have a special project for you. My foundation, the Adeyemi Women's Empowerment Foundation, is building a vocational training center in Ibadan. We'll teach young women skills, fashion design, catering, cosmetology. I want you to manage the construction. Ibadan. Chidi's heart quickened. It was only 2 hours from Lagos, but it felt like returning to roots, to the Nigeria of his childhood before Lagos's glitter and grit had reshaped everything. Yes. The building must be completed in 4 months. Can you do it? Yes, Ma. When do I start? Tomorrow. I've arranged accommodation. You'll spend weekdays in Ibadan, weekends with your family. I know it's a sacrifice, but this project is important to me. These young women, they remind me of myself at their age. Hungry for opportunity, held back by circumstance. We're not just building a center. We're building futures. That evening, Chidi explained the assignment to Ngozi. 4 months apart during the week, she said thoughtfully. The girls will miss you. I'll miss you. I know. But Chief Mrs. Adeyemi trusts me with this. And the pay, she's adding a hardship allowance. We can finally finish saving for the girls' school fees, start building our house on the land she gave us. Ngozi touched his face. Go. Build. Serve. We'll be fine. Just promise to call every night. I promise. In Ibadan, Zainab's Second Chances initiative was taking shape, but barely. She'd managed to gather 6 young women from the neighborhood, girls who'd dropped out of school, who needed skills to support themselves. She taught them in her parents' living room, using her mother's sewing machine, sharing her knowledge of pattern making, fabric selection, finishing techniques. But the space was cramped. The single sewing machine meant students took turns, learning slowly. Zainab had dreams of expansion but no capital. Her business reputation in Lagos was ruined. No one would invest in her. The banks laughed when she applied for loans. Madam, you have multiple outstanding debts. Your credit score is in the negative. We cannot help you. She'd swallowed her pride and visited her former friends in Lagos, the ones who'd posed with her in designer outfits, who'd sipped champagne at her boutique openings. Zainab. Darling. So good to see you. Air kisses. False warmth. Then, an investment? Oh babe, I would love to help, but you know, the economy, maybe later. She'd returned to Ibadan empty-handed but wiser. False friends were like fair weather clouds, beautiful to look at but disappearing when storms came. One morning, her father brought unexpected news. Zainab, there's a new construction project starting in Ibadan. A women's vocational training center. The Adeyemi Foundation is building it. Zainab's heart jumped. Adeyemi Foundation? Chief Mrs. Adeyemi. Yes. They're looking for local partners, people with skills to teach when the center opens. Fashion design is one of the programs. I think you should apply. Daddy, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi rejected my investment proposal last year. She won't want me involved. That was when you were offering her a bad business. This is different. You're offering genuine skill, genuine teaching. Let your work speak, not your pride. Zainab wrestled with herself for days. The humiliation of facing Chief Mrs. Adeyemi again, of essentially begging for an opportunity from someone who'd seen through her facade, it stung. But her 6 students deserved better than her parents' cramped living room. They deserved proper space, proper equipment. She applied. Chidi arrived in Ibadan on a Tuesday morning, the city greeting him with its characteristic blend of ancient tradition and modern hustle. The construction site was in Bodija, a respectable neighborhood, the land cleared and ready for foundation work. The local liaison assigned to him was Mr. Bello, a retired teacher with kind eyes and the bearing of someone who'd spent decades shaping young minds. Mr. Okafor, welcome to Ibadan, Mr. Bello said, shaking his hand firmly. I'll be your local guide, helping with permits, community relations, sourcing local materials and labor. I appreciate that, sir. And please, call me Chidi. Then you must call me Teacher Bello. Everyone does. They toured the site together, discussing timelines, specifications, challenges. Teacher Bello asked intelligent questions, demonstrating genuine interest in quality and purpose, not just speed and cost. This center is important to our community, Teacher Bello explained. Too many young women here have talent but no opportunity. They end up in bad situations because they lack options. This building, it's more than concrete and steel. It's hope made tangible. Chidi felt immediate kinship with this man. That's exactly how I see construction, sir. Every building serves people. We're not just creating structures, we're creating possibilities. You remind me of my son-in-law, Teacher Bello said with a smile. He's also a builder. Works in, he paused, a strange look crossing his face. Actually, worked. He's in Lagos now, doing very well I hear. Something in the man's pause made Chidi curious, but he didn't press. Over the following weeks, Chidi established his rhythm. He hired local workers, treating them with the same respect he'd shown his Lagos crews. He sourced materials from Ibadan suppliers, supporting the local economy. He consulted with Teacher Bello frequently, learning the community's needs and expectations. One evening, Teacher Bello invited him to dinner. My wife insists. She says any man who works as hard as you needs a home-cooked meal. Chidi accepted, grateful for the warmth. Living in a small hotel during the week, away from Gozi and his daughters, had been lonelier than expected. Teacher Bello's house was modest but welcoming, the kind of home built by years of loving occupation rather than expensive decoration. Mrs. Below served pounded yam and agusi soup that tasted like Chidi's own mother's cooking. "This is delicious, Ma," Chidi said sincerely. "Thank you, my son. My husband says you're doing excellent work on the center. We are grateful." During dinner, Chidi noticed photographs on the wall, Teacher Below's family through the years. One photo caught his eye, a young woman in graduation robes, beautiful and proud. "That's our daughter, Zainab," Mrs. Below said, noticing his gaze. "She graduated top of her class from University of Lagos. Business Administration." Chidi's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Zainab. How many Zainabs could there be who graduated from University of Lagos? "She had a business in Lagos," Teacher Bellow added, a note of sadness in his voice. "Fashion boutiques. Very successful for a while. But—" He trailed off. "But pride comes before a fall," Mrs. Below finished quietly. "She's back home now. Humbled but learning. Teaching young girls to sew in our living room." Chidi's mind raced. It couldn't be the same Zainab. Lagos had thousands of Zainabs. But the details, University of Lagos, fashion business, fall from success, aligned too perfectly. "Is she here?" Chidi asked carefully. "Your daughter?" "She's at the market with my wife's sister," Teacher Bellow said. "She helps at our provisions stall now. Learning the value of honest work." He smiled sadly. Sometimes our children must fall to learn to walk properly. Chidi's heart pounded. If it was his Zainab, the one who'd humiliated him, he was eating dinner in her parents' house, being welcomed as an honored guest, while she sold Gary at the market. The irony was so profound it felt orchestrated. After dinner, as Teacher Bellow walked Chidi to his car, the older man said, "Chidi, can I tell you something? My daughter made mistakes in Lagos. She became someone we didn't recognize. Proud, materialistic, cruel to people she deemed beneath her. She mocked a former classmate at a reunion for being a construction worker. Can you imagine? As if honest work is shameful." Chidi's hands gripped his car keys so tightly they cut into his palm. Teacher Bellow continued, unaware. "When her business collapsed, when she came home broken, I was heartbroken but also relieved. Because the daughter who came home was closer to the daughter we raised than the stranger she'd become in Lagos. She's learning now. Slowly. Painfully. But learning." "Sir," Chidi's voice came out rough. "That classmate she mocked. It was me." Teacher Bellow stopped walking. Turned slowly. Stared. "You?" "Yes, sir. I was at that reunion. Your daughter publicly humiliated me for being a construction worker. She said I was too poor, that my life was a waste, that she could never be associated with someone so beneath her." The older man's face collapsed. "Chidi. I don't know what to say. It's not your fault, sir. You didn't raise her to be cruel. She chose that. Just as she's choosing to change now, from what you tell me." Teacher Bellow sat heavily on his front step, suddenly looking every one of his 68 years. "What will you do? Will you withdraw from the project? I would understand. Having to work with her father after what she did." "Sir." Chidi sat beside him. "I forgave your daughter the night of the reunion. Not because she deserved it, but because holding anger would poison me. The ancestors teach us, the person who seeks revenge should dig 2 graves, one for their enemy and one for themselves. I refuse to dig my own grave. You are a better man than most, Chidi. I'm just a man who learned that other people's opinions can't determine my worth. Your daughter taught me that, actually. Her cruelty forced me to find my value in myself, in my work, in my character, not in external validation. In a strange way, I should thank her." Teacher Bellow wiped his eyes. "The irony of life. You're managing construction of a center that my daughter applied to teach in. You're succeeding in the exact work she mocked you for. If this isn't karma, I don't know what is. Karma is a teacher, sir. Not a torturer. What matters now is what we all learn from it. Will you tell her that you're here? Is she accepted to teach at the center? The foundation hasn't decided yet. She submitted her application but hasn't heard back." Chidi thought carefully. The decision should be based on her qualifications and her genuine commitment to serving those young women. Not on her past behavior toward me. If she's truly changed, if she's truly ready to serve with humility, then her past shouldn't disqualify her. You would work alongside her? After what she did? If the ancestors brought us both to this place, there's a lesson to be learned. I won't run from it. The following week, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi arrived in Ibadan to inspect the construction progress. Chidi gave her a comprehensive tour, foundation completed ahead of schedule, walls rising, electrical and plumbing systems being installed with precision. Excellent work as always, Chidi, she said. Now, let's discuss the programming. I've reviewed the applications for teaching positions. There's one candidate I want your opinion on. She handed him a file. Zainab Below's application. Chidi's hands trembled slightly as he read. The application was thorough, professional, humble. She outlined her experience in fashion, her current work teaching 6 young women in her parents' home, her vision for empowering others through skills training. The writing had none of the arrogance he remembered. It spoke of service, of second chances, of wanting to help others avoid the mistakes she'd made. Well? Chief Mrs. Adeyemi asked. You know her, don't you? From your class reunion. Chidi's head snapped up. You know. I know everything about everyone I work with. Chidi. Due diligence. I know Zainab Below mocked you. I know her business collapsed shortly after. I know she's been in Ibadan for 6 months, working at her parents' market stall, teaching girls to sew in their living room. The question is, has she learned? Has she changed? Or is this just performance while she waits to return to her old ways? I don't know, Ma. Neither do I. But I know someone who might. Her father, Teacher Below, your local liaison. What does he say about her transformation? He says it's genuine. Slow but real. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi nodded. Then here's what I propose. We hire her conditionally. 3-month probation. If she serves with genuine humility, if she truly pours into these young women, we make it permanent. If she shows any sign of her old arrogance, she's dismissed. But Chidi, and this is important, you will be her supervisor. The construction worker she mocked will be the one evaluating whether she keeps this job. The poetry of it was almost painful. Ma, is that wise? Given our history. It's perfect precisely because of your history. If she's truly changed, she'll embrace the humility of being supervised by someone she wronged. If she hasn't, her pride will reveal itself quickly. Either way, we'll know the truth. Chidi took a deep breath. Then I agree. But Ma, I want to tell her myself. Before she starts. She deserves to know who she'll be answering to. Agreed. Tell her tomorrow. I want to see her reaction. The next afternoon, Chidi stood outside Teacher Below's house, his heart hammering. The older man had arranged for Zainab to be home, telling her someone from the foundation wanted to interview her. When Chidi knocked, Mrs. Below answered. Chidi. Come in, come in. Zainab is in the living room. She's very nervous. This job means everything to her. Chidi entered the modest living room. 6 young women sat with fabric and pattern spread around them, clearly in the middle of a lesson. And there, standing to greet what she thought was a foundation official, was Zainab. She'd changed. The expensive weave was gone, replaced by a simple natural hairstyle. The designer clothes replaced by a neat but ordinary Ankara dress. The elaborate makeup replaced by a clean, bare face. But the most significant change was in her eyes. The hard, judgmental glitter had been replaced by something softer, more uncertain, more human. She smiled professionally, extending her hand. Good afternoon. I'm Zainab Below. Thank you for coming too. She stopped. Her hand froze mid-extension. The color drained from her face. Chidi. His name came out as a whisper. Chidi Okafor. Hello, Zainab. It's been a while. The 6 students watched curiously. Mrs. Below stood in the kitchen doorway, hands clasped in prayer position. Zainab's legs seemed to give out. She sat heavily on the sofa. You're from the foundation? You're here about my application. I'm the project manager for the training center construction. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi has asked me to evaluate teacher candidates. Chidi kept his voice professional, kind. Your application is impressive. Your students here speak highly of you. But before the foundation makes a decision, I need to ask you some questions. Zainab's hands trembled. Chidi, I don't know what to say. After what I did to you at the reunion, after how I treated you, I can't believe you're here, that you're the one. Her voice broke. Let's step outside, Chidi suggested gently. Your students don't need to hear this. They walked to the small front yard, standing under a mango tree heavy with fruit. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Zainab said, I'm sorry. I know that's inadequate. I know sorry doesn't undo the humiliation, the cruelty. But Chidi, I am so deeply, profoundly sorry for what I said to you, for how I treated you. I was wrong. Not just wrong, I was cruel, arrogant, and blind. Why? Chidi asked simply. Why did you do it? Zainab closed her eyes. Because I was empty inside and trying to fill the emptiness with the appearance of success. Because I measured my worth by comparison to others, and the only way I could feel big was by making others feel small. Because I was so insecure beneath all the designer clothes and expensive things that I had to constantly prove I was better than everyone else. And now I know that I was the poor one. Not you. You had honest work, a loving wife, dignity, character. I had debt disguised as wealth, friends who weren't really friends, and a hollowness I was terrified to acknowledge. When everything collapsed, when I lost it all, I finally had to face the truth. I had built my entire life on sand. Tears streamed down her face. I spent 6 months learning what you already knew, that all honest work is sacred, that character matters more than possessions, that true wealth is measured in who you are, not what you have. My father taught me these things. You lived them. And I mocked you for it. Chidi felt his own eyes sting. This was genuine. This was real transformation, not performance. Zainab, do you know what happened after that reunion? She shook her head. I went home and cried. Your words hurt. Deeply. I questioned myself, my choices, my worth. But my wife reminded me of something crucial. Other people's opinions of me have no power unless I give them power. So I chose not to give you that power. I chose to keep valuing myself for who I was. You had every right to hate me. Hate would have poisoned me, not you. Instead, I forgave you. That very night. Not because you deserved it, but because I deserved freedom from bitterness. Zainab looked at him with wonder. You forgave me before I even apologized? Before I even changed? Forgiveness is not something you earn, Zainab. It's something I chose for my own peace. Your transformation is separate. That's between you and your conscience, you and your ancestors. The ancestors. Zainab laughed bitterly. They've been teaching me. Every humiliation I faced was a mirror reflecting my own cruelty back to me. I mocked you for being poor, then I became poor. I laughed at your humble work, then I had to do humble work. I rejected you for not being impressive enough, then everyone rejected me. The karma was so precise it was almost funny. Almost. Karma is a teacher, Chidi said. What did you learn? That pride is the most expensive thing you can own. That humility is not weakness but wisdom. That the people I looked down on were often the ones with the most to teach me. That real success is built on service, not superiority. Chidi studied her face, the genuine remorse, the hard-won humility, the transformation that suffering had carved into her spirit. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi is offering you the teaching position. 3-month probation. If you serve these young women with genuine commitment, it becomes permanent. Zainab's eyes widened. After everything? She'll still hire me. On one condition. I will be your supervisor. The construction worker you mocked will evaluate whether you keep this job. Can you accept that? Can you work under someone you once deemed beneath you? Zainab fell to her knees in the Redebarden earth, hands pressed together. Chidi, I would be honored to work under you. I would be honored to learn from you. You're not beneath me. You never were. I was the one who was beneath my own potential, beneath my own values, beneath the person my parents raised me to be. Stand up, Zainab, Chidi said gently, helping her to her feet. We don't kneel to each other. We work together. We serve together. We learn together. If you're truly committed to this, to genuinely empowering these young women, to teaching them not just fashion skills but character, integrity, the values you've learned the hard way, then we'll do this together. I'm committed. I swear on my ancestors, on my parents, on everything sacred, I'm committed. Then welcome to the Adeyemi Foundation Training Center. Report on Monday. Bring your students, they'll be the first cohort. We'll get them proper equipment, proper space, proper support. And you'll teach them not just how to sew, but how to build lives of substance. Zainab wept openly now, tears of gratitude, relief, redemption. Thank you. Thank you. I'll make you proud. I'll make Chief Mrs. Adeyemi proud. I'll honor this chance. Make yourself proud, Chidi corrected. That's all that matters. As he walked back to his car, Teacher Bello and Mrs. Bello stood in the doorway, tears streaming down their faces. You gave our daughter more than a job, Teacher Bello said. You gave her redemption. I gave her an opportunity, Chidi replied. The redemption she earned herself. Driving back to the construction site, Chidi called Ngozi to tell her what had happened. You hired the woman who humiliated you. Ngozi's voice was incredulous. I hired someone who has genuinely changed, who can serve those young women with wisdom earned through suffering. Her past doesn't define her present. Just like my humble beginnings don't define my current success. My husband, you are a better person than I am. I'm just a person who learned that revenge is a poverty of spirit, but forgiveness is wealth that multiplies. The ancestors are teaching us all something here, Ngozi. I'm just trying to learn the lesson. As the sun set over Ibadan, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Chidi stood at his construction site, the training center rising from the red earth, brick by brick, beam by beam. And he understood, finally, what this was all about. It wasn't about Zainab's punishment or his vindication. It was about both of them learning that true wealth is character, that real success is service, and that the deepest satisfaction comes not from standing on others but from lifting others up. The ancestors, in their infinite wisdom, had brought them both to this place, not for revenge, but for restoration. Not for settling scores, but for settling into truth. Karma, it turned out, wasn't about evening the score. It was about learning the lesson. How will Zainab prove her transformation is genuine? Will old patterns resurface under pressure, or has she truly changed? And what final wisdom awaits when the training center opens and the community witnesses the full circle of karma and redemption? The morning the Adeyemi Women's Empowerment Training Center officially opened was bright with promise and heavy with meaning. 4 months of construction had yielded a beautiful 2-story building, modern but respectful of Ibadan's architectural heritage, equipped with proper sewing machines, cutting tables, computers for business training, a library, a cafeteria, and classrooms flooded with natural light. Every brick, every beam, every window frame had been installed with the integrity Chidi brought to all his work. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi herself came from Lagos for the opening ceremony, along with local dignitaries, community leaders, and a crowd of young women eager to enroll. The air buzzed with excitement, with traditional drummers providing rhythm, with the smell of jollof rice and small chops being prepared for the celebration. But for Chidi and Zainab, standing on opposite sides of the crowd, the day carried layers of meaning no one else could fully understand. Zainab wore a simple but elegant Ankara dress she'd sewn herself. No designer labels, no expensive accessories, just honest craftsmanship. Her 6 original students stood beside her, dressed in matching outfits they'd created together. They were nervous, excited, grateful. Teacher Zainab, the youngest, blessing, whispered, "I can't believe we're here. A real training center. Real equipment." "Believe it, my dear," Zainab said softly. "And remember, this is not just about learning to sew. This is about learning to build your life with integrity, with service, with humility. The skills are tools. Your character is the foundation." Words she'd learned the hard way. Words that now flowed from genuine understanding, not performance. Chidi stood with his construction crew, many of whom had traveled from Lagos for this moment. They'd completed the project 2 weeks ahead of schedule, 10% under budget, with 0 safety incidents. It was a testament to what happened when work was built on mutual respect rather than exploitation. "Oga Chidi," Emeka said, pride evident in his voice, "you don't build something special here. Not just building. Something that will change lives." "We built it together," Chidi corrected. "Every worker here contributed. This is our achievement, not mine alone." The ceremony began with Chief Mrs. Adeyemi cutting the ribbon, flanked by Teacher Below on one side and the local councilman on the other. Cameras flashed. The crowd cheered. The drummers intensified their rhythm. Then Chief Mrs. Adeyemi took the microphone. Today, we open more than a building. Her voice rang out clear and strong. We open possibilities. We open futures. We open doors that have been closed to too many young women for too long. She gestured to the building. This center represents the best of what we can be when we combine vision with integrity, resources with compassion, opportunity with accountability. I want to thank the man who made this possible through his exceptional work, Mr. Chidi Okafor, our Director of Construction Operations. Applause erupted. Chidi stepped forward, uncomfortable with the attention but grateful for the recognition. Mr. Okafor, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi continued, came to this project with more than skills. He came with character. He treated every worker with dignity. He built every wall with integrity. He completed every task with excellence. This is why this building stands not just as a structure, but as a testament to what happens when honest work meets genuine commitment. The irony wasn't lost on Zainab, standing in the crowd. The construction worker she'd mocked was being celebrated as a man of exceptional character, while she, the successful businesswoman, stood as a probationary teacher, her past failures known to all who cared to search online. But instead of bitterness, she felt gratitude. Gratitude that karma had taught her before it was too late to change. Gratitude that humiliation had led to humility. Gratitude that she was here at all, given a second chance she knew she didn't deserve but was determined to honor. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi then introduced the teaching staff. When she called Zainab's name, there was a moment of hesitation in the crowd. Some recognized her from social media, from the viral videos of her downfall, from Lagos gossip blogs. Ms. Zainab Bello, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi said clearly, will be teaching fashion design and business skills. Some of you may know her story. Some may know she experienced significant business failure. I hired her not despite this, but because of it. She has learned lessons that cannot be taught from textbooks, lessons about integrity, about humility, about building on solid foundations rather than sand. She will teach our students not just how to sew, but how to build sustainable businesses with character. Zainab stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. Thank you, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi, for this opportunity. To the young women who will study here, I promise to give you everything I've learned, including my mistakes. Especially my mistakes. Because success teaches us how to win, but failure teaches us how to rebuild. And knowing how to rebuild is the most valuable skill of all. The applause was warm, if uncertain. She would have to earn their full trust. She knew this. She accepted it. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed to tour the facility and enjoy refreshments, Chidi found himself face to face with Zainab near the main entrance. Congratulations, she said quietly. The building is beautiful. You should be proud. We should be proud, Chidi corrected. This is a community achievement. Including you, your students are the first cohort. Their success will be part of this center's legacy. Zainab smiled, a genuine smile, free of the performative brightness that used to mask her insecurity. Chidi, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you believe people can truly change? Not just pretend to change, not just perform change until the pressure is off, but genuinely transform. Chidi thought carefully. I believe people can change when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of transformation. I believe change requires not just recognition of wrong, but genuine commitment to different choices, every day, even when no one is watching. Why do you ask? Because I want to believe I've truly changed. But I'm afraid. What if this is just temporary? What if when things get comfortable again, I revert to my old ways, the pride, the materialism, the need to feel superior? Then you'll catch yourself and choose differently, Chidi said. Transformation isn't one dramatic moment. It's 1,000 small choices, made consistently, over time. You choose humility over pride. Service over superiority. Substance over image. Every single day. That's how change becomes permanent. Will you help me? The question came out vulnerable, almost childlike. Will you tell me when you see me slipping? When the old Zainab starts emerging? I will. But Zainab, you have something more reliable than my observation. You have your students. They will mirror back to you who you really are. If you're being genuine, they'll thrive. If you're being false, they'll sense it and withdraw. Let them be your truth tellers. Zainab nodded, absorbing this wisdom. Thank you. For everything. For forgiving me. For hiring me. For teaching me that redemption is possible. Thank my wife, Chidi smiled. She's the one who convinced me to attend that reunion. If I'd stayed home, none of this would have happened. Your mockery wouldn't have stung me into deeper self-understanding. My success wouldn't have coincided with your fall to create this teaching moment. The ancestors wouldn't have orchestrated this full circle. Your wife sounds wise. She is. She comes from a family of Dibia, traditional healers. She sees patterns that others miss. She told me the night of the reunion, the ancestors are speaking. I didn't understand then. But I do now. Before Zainab could respond, Teacher Below approached with Mrs. Below, both beaming with pride. Chidi. Zainab. Come, there's someone who wants to meet you both. They followed to where Chief Mrs. Adeyemi stood with an elderly woman, ancient, wrapped in traditional iro and buba, leaning on a carved walking stick, her eyes sharp despite her age. This is Mamare Barden, Teacher Bello said with reverence. She is the oldest woman in this community. 106 years old. She wanted to bless the center and its key people. Mamare Barden studied Chidi with eyes that seemed to see through flesh to spirit. Then she turned the same penetrating gaze on Zainab. Finally, she smiled, a smile like sunrise after long darkness. The builder and the teacher, she said in Yoruba, which Teacher Bello translated. The one who was mocked and the one who mocked. The one who rose and the one who fell. Both now standing in the same place, serving the same purpose. This is the wisdom of the ancestors made visible. She gestured for them both to come closer. They knelt before her as custom demanded. Mamare Barden placed one weathered hand on Chidi's head, one on Zainab's. The builder learned that his worth was never in others' opinions, but in his own integrity. The teacher learned that her worth was never in her possessions, but in her character. Both learned what they needed to learn. Now both will teach, one through construction, one through instruction. Both serving the rising generation. She began to chant in ancient Yoruba, a blessing so old its origins were lost to time, but its power evident in the way the air seemed to shimmer around them. When she finished, she said, Chidi Okafor, you will build many buildings. But the greatest thing you build will be your legacy of treating all work as sacred, all people as valuable. Men will remember you not for the height of your buildings but for the depth of your character. Then, turning to Zainab Below, you will teach many students. But the greatest thing you teach will be that failure is not final, that pride can be transformed to humility, that every ending is a new beginning if we have courage to learn. Women will remember you not for your success but for your comeback, not for your rise but for how you rose again. Tears streamed down both their faces. Mamare Barden continued, and together, without planning it, without even liking each other at first, you will show this community something important, that karma is not revenge but education. That what seems like punishment is often preparation. That the universe doesn't destroy us, it reconstructs us into who we were always meant to be. She released them and stepped back. Rise now. Go and serve. The ancestors are pleased. As they stood, Chidi and Zainab exchanged glances, no longer adversaries, no longer even just colleagues, but fellow students in the same school of life, learning the same essential lessons through different curricula. The training center's first term began the following week. Zainab threw herself into teaching with an intensity born of genuine purpose. She arrived early, stayed late, poured everything she'd learned, both skills and hard-won wisdom, into her students. She taught them pattern making, yes, but also business ethics. She taught them sewing techniques, yes, but also the importance of building on solid foundations. She taught them fashion design, yes, but also the difference between image and substance. And she taught them through her own story, sharing her rise and fall, her pride and humiliation, her mistakes and her slow climb back toward redemption. I stood where you stand now, she told her first full class of 30 young women. Hungry for success, eager to escape poverty, desperate to prove myself. But I pursued success the wrong way. I built on sand, on debt, on image, on comparison to others. When the storms came, everything collapsed. She held up a piece of fabric. When you sew, what's the first thing you must do? Take measurements, several students called out. Exactly. You must know the true dimensions of what you're working with. Not what you wish they were. Not what they appear to be. what they actually are. I didn't do this in my business. I pretended to be bigger than I was, richer than I was, more successful than I was. The measurements were false, so everything I built was false. She moved to the cutting table. What's the second step? Cut carefully. Yes. One bad cut can ruin expensive fabric. One bad decision can ruin a good business. I made many bad cuts, taking on debt I couldn't afford, spending money I didn't have, treating people badly to make myself feel superior. These bad cuts destroyed what could have been a good business. A student named Kimi raised her hand. Teacher, how did you start again after losing everything? Zainab smiled. By measuring truly this time. By cutting carefully. By building on truth instead of lies. By accepting help instead of pretending I didn't need it. By valuing character over image. And by understanding that real wealth is not what you have but who you are. The students absorbed this, their young faces serious with understanding. In this class, Zainab continued, I will teach you to sew beautiful things. But more importantly, I will teach you to build beautiful lives, lives with strong foundations, honest measurements, careful cuts, and stitches that hold even under pressure. This is the real skill. The sewing is just the tool. Word of her teaching spread. Enrollment grew. Her students thrived not just in technical skills but in confidence, in business acumen, in character development. And Chidi watched it all unfold, reporting regularly to Chief Mrs. Adeyemi. She's genuine, he told his boss during one of their video calls. The transformation is real. Her students are learning more than fashion, they're learning wisdom. Good, Chief Mrs. Adeyemi said. Then after the 3-month probation, we'll make her position permanent. And Chidi, I want you to tell her. Let her hear it from the man she once mocked. There's a symmetry to that which pleases the ancestors. 3 months after the center opened, Chidi called Zainab to his temporary site office. She entered nervously. You wanted to see me. Sit down, Zainab. She sat, hands clasped tightly in her lap, clearly expecting bad news. I've been evaluating your performance over the past 3 months, Chidi began formally. Then his face softened into a smile. And I'm pleased to inform you that your probation is over. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi is making your position permanent. Congratulations, Teacher Zainab. Zainab's hands flew to her mouth. Permanent? Really? Really? Your student's progress is exceptional. Your commitment is evident. Your transformation is genuine. You've earned this. She stood abruptly and did something that surprised them both. She hugged him. A brief, sisterly embrace of pure gratitude. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for seeing me not as who I was, but as who I'm becoming. Thank you for becoming someone worth seeing, Chidi replied. As she turned to leave, he called out, Zainab? One more thing. She turned back. I'm sorry. She looked confused. You're sorry? For what? For judging you so harshly when I first came to Ibadan. When I realized you were Teacher Bello's daughter, part of me wanted you to fail. Part of me wanted to see you humiliated the way you humiliated me. That was wrong. That was me holding on to bitterness I claimed I'd released. So I'm sorry. I'm still learning too. Zainab's eyes filled with tears. We're all still learning. That's what makes us human. But Chidi, the fact that you can admit that you can apologize even though you're the one who was wronged, that's the character I'm trying to build in myself. Thank you for modeling it. After she left, Chidi sat in his office feeling lighter. Forgiveness, he was learning, wasn't one dramatic act. It was 1,000 small releases, letting go again and again until the weight was finally gone. 6 months after the training center opened, Chidi's assignment in Ibadan ended. The building was complete, the programs running smoothly, his work done. The night before he returned to Lagos permanently, the community organized a surprise appreciation ceremony. Chidi arrived at the center expecting a routine final inspection and instead found hundreds of people, workers he'd employed, students who'd benefited from the center, community members whose lives had been touched by the project. Teacher Bello stood at the microphone. Chidi Okafor came to Ibadan to build a building. But he built more than that. He built hope. He built opportunity. He built dignity. Every worker he hired, he treated like a human being. Every student who benefited from this center, he made possible. We gather tonight to say, thank you. One by one, people came forward with testimonials. Emeka, Oga Chidi taught me that construction work is not just labor, it's craft. It's art. It's service. He taught me to take pride in what I do. Blessing, one of Zainab's students, because of this center, I have skills that will feed my family. Because of teacher Zainab, I have wisdom that will guide my life. Because of Mr. Chidi, I have hope that honest work leads to honest success. Finally, Zainab stepped forward. The crowd hushed. Many knew their story, the journey from mockery to redemption, from animosity to mutual respect. Chidi Okafor, she began, her voice clear and strong, 1 year ago, I publicly humiliated you at a class reunion. I mocked you for being a construction worker. I called you poor, unsuccessful, beneath me. I was wrong. Not just mistaken, morally wrong. I want to apologize publicly as I shamed you. She turned to face the full crowd. This man I mocked builds more than buildings. He builds character, in himself, in his workers, in everyone he touches. This man I called poor carries more wealth in his integrity than I carried in all my designer clothes and expensive cars. This man I deemed unsuccessful has succeeded in the most important way, he's become a man of honor. She turned back to Chidi, tears streaming. Thank you for forgiving me before I deserved it. Thank you for hiring me when you had every reason not to. Thank you for showing me that redemption is possible. You taught me that karma isn't about revenge, it's about learning. And I'm still learning, every day, from your example. The crowd erupted in applause. Chidi stood, moved beyond words, and embraced Zainab, not as adversaries, not as supervisor and employee, but as two people who'd walked through fire and emerged transformed. Chief Mrs. Adeyemi, who'd traveled from Lagos for the occasion, stood to speak. Mr. Okafor, your work in Ibadan exceeded all expectations. The building is excellent. But more than that, you've demonstrated what leadership truly looks like, serving those you lead, respecting all honest work, maintaining integrity under all circumstances. Therefore, I'm promoting you to Senior Director of Construction Operations. You'll oversee all foundation projects across Nigeria. Your salary increases to 3.5 million naira monthly. And there's one more thing. She handed him a folder. Plans for the Chidi Okafor Technical Institute. We're building a vocational training center in Lagos, for young men this time, teaching construction skills, plumbing, electrical work, carpentry. You'll design it, manage its construction, and help shape its programming. We'll name it after you because you embody what we want to teach. That technical skills combined with strong character create unstoppable success. Chidi couldn't speak. A training institute named after him? The construction worker who'd been mocked for his profession would have an institution bearing his name, teaching the next generation that all honest work carries dignity? The irony was beautiful. The justice was poetic. The karma was complete. That night, Chidi called Ngozi from his hotel room to share the news. They're naming a training institute after you, she screamed. Chidi, this is beyond anything we imagined. I know. I keep waiting to wake up and find it's a dream. It's not a dream, my husband. It's your destiny unfolding. Your father must be dancing in heaven. Ngozi, Papa is still alive. I know, but he'll dance anyway when he hears this. They laughed together, the sound carrying across the distance between Ibadan and Lagos. Come home, Ngozi said softly. The girls miss you. I miss you. Come home so we can celebrate properly. I'll be there tomorrow. And Ngozi. Yes. Thank you. For what? For making me go to that reunion. If I'd stayed home, none of this would have happened. Zainab wouldn't have mocked me. I wouldn't have questioned my worth and found it within myself. I wouldn't have been hungry to prove, not to her, but to myself, that I was valuable. The whole chain of events started with that reunion. Started with you pushing me to go despite my reluctance. The ancestors work through us all, Ngozi said. I just listened when they whispered, make him go. I'm glad I did. After they hung up, Chidi stood on his hotel balcony, looking out over Ibadan's twinkling lights. Somewhere out there, Zainab was probably in her parents' house, maybe teaching her evening class, maybe just sitting with her family, living the humble life she'd once scorned and now cherished. Somewhere in Lagos, His daughters slept in comfortable beds in a nice flat, comfort built on his honest work, not on debt or pretense. Somewhere in the spirit realm, ancestors smiled at lessons learned, wisdom gained, karma completed. The full circle was beautiful. The millionaire woman who'd mocked the construction worker had learned that wealth without character is poverty wearing expensive clothes. The construction worker she'd mocked had learned that his worth was never determined by others' opinions. Both had learned. Both had grown. Both were better for the journey. And in a training center in Ibadan, young women were learning to build lives of substance. In a training institute soon to rise in Lagos, young men would learn that their work carried dignity. All because two people had walked through fire. One through the fire of humiliation, one through the fire of failure, and emerged refined. Karma, Chidi thought, truly was the greatest teacher. Not cruel. Not vengeful. Just perfectly, precisely educational. The Chidi Okafor Technical Institute in Lagos graduated its first cohort on a bright Saturday morning. 500 young men, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, construction workers, walked across the stage to receive their certificates, their faces shining with pride and possibility. Chidi stood on the platform, now 40 years old, beside Chief Mrs. Adeyemi and several government officials. His daughters, Chiamaka and Adiz, sat in the front row with Ngozi, beaming with pride at their father. In the audience, wearing a simple but elegant outfit she'd sewn herself, sat Zainab. Beside her sat her husband, a humble teacher she'd met in Ibadan, a man of quiet character who valued her for who she was, not what she had. Their infant daughter slept in her arms. The Adeyemi Women's Empowerment Training Center in Ibadan had graduated over 1,000 women in 5 years. Many now ran successful businesses, small, sustainable enterprises built on honest work and solid foundations. Zainab had been promoted to Director of Training, overseeing not just fashion but expanding programs in technology, agriculture, and business management. She'd rebuilt her life, slowly and carefully, on truth instead of image. During his keynote speech, Chidi shared the story he'd told many times but never tired of telling. 5 years ago, I was mocked at a class reunion for being a construction worker. Someone I'd once called a friend told me I was too poor, too unsuccessful, too beneath her to be worth respecting. That mockery hurt. But it also taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Other people's opinions of me are none of my business. My worth is inherent. My value is in my character, my integrity, my service, not in my bank account or my job title. He paused, his eyes finding Zainab in the crowd. She smiled through tears. The person who mocked me learned lessons too. Hard lessons. Painful lessons. But lessons that transformed her from someone who measured worth by wealth into someone who measures it by wisdom. Today, she's one of the most respected educators in Nigeria, empowering young women to build lives of substance. He gestured to the graduates. You young men are entering trades that some people still look down on. You'll encounter people who think construction work, plumbing, electrical work are somehow beneath them. Let me tell you something. There is no work that is beneath you if you do it with excellence and integrity. You are not just construction workers. You are builders. You create the physical world. Without you, architects' dreams remain paper. Engineers' calculations remain theory. You transform vision into reality. That is sacred work. The applause was thunderous. After the ceremony, Chidi and Zainab found themselves standing together near the institute's entrance, watching graduates take photos with their families. We've come a long way, Zainab said softly. We have. Both of us. Do you ever think about that reunion? About how differently things could have gone? Sometimes. If you hadn't mocked me, I might not have been forced to find my worth in myself. If I hadn't forgiven you, I might have become bitter. If the ancestors hadn't orchestrated our paths crossing in Ibadan, neither of us might have learned what we needed to learn. So you're saying you're grateful I was cruel to you? Zainab asked with a wry smile. I'm saying I'm grateful for the entire journey, the pain, the lessons, the growth, all of it. The wound was terrible, but the wisdom was worth it. Zainab's husband approached with their daughter. Darling, she's hungry. We should probably go. I'll be right there, Zainab said. After he walked away, she turned to Chidi. Thank you. For everything. For forgiving me. For teaching me. For showing me that karma isn't punishment but education. You changed my life. We changed each other's lives. That's the real lesson. We're all teachers and students, all the time, whether we know it or not. They embraced briefly, then parted to join their respective families. As Chidi drove home with Ngozi and his daughters, Chiamaka asked from the back seat, "Daddy, is it true that lady in the audience used to be mean to you?" "Yes, baby girl. She was very mean. And now you're friends. Now we're fellow travelers. We learned important lessons together." "What lesson did you learn?" Chidi thought carefully. "I learned that my worth comes from inside me, not from what other people think of me. And that forgiving people who hurt you doesn't mean they were right, it means you're free." What did she learn? She learned that being rich doesn't make you valuable, and being poor doesn't make you worthless. That all honest work is sacred. That pride is expensive and humility is wealth. His younger daughter, Adiz, piped up, "Daddy, if someone mocks me, should I forgive them?" Eventually, yes. But first, feel your feelings. Be angry, be hurt, be sad. Those feelings are valid. Then, when you're ready, release them. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom from bitterness. Ngozi reached over and squeezed his hand. "Listen to your father, girls." His speaking wisdom learned through fire. That evening, as Chidi stood on the balcony of their beautiful new house, built on the land Chief Mrs. Adeyemi had given him, built with his own hand supervising every detail, he reflected on the journey. From construction site foreman to director of construction operations. From one company car to 3. From a cramped 2-bedroom flat in Soyulir to a 4-bedroom house in Lekki. From being mocked to having an institute named after him. The external transformation was dramatic. But the internal transformation was what truly mattered. From someone who needed others' approval to someone who knew his own worth. From someone who defined success by salary to someone who defined it by service. From someone who thought forgiveness was weakness to someone who knew it was strength. His phone buzzed. A message from Adekunle, the classmate who'd lost millions in that Ponzi scheme. "Chidi, I just attended your institute's graduation. I was there to support my younger brother who graduated in electrical training. I saw you speak. I saw your journey. Man, I remember that reunion when Zainab mocked you. I'm ashamed I didn't speak up. But look at you now. Look at her now. Both of you transformed. Both serving. Both teaching. It's beautiful, man. It's like watching karma work in real time, but karma as a teacher, not as revenge. Proud of you, brother." Chidi smiled and typed back. "We're all still learning, my brother. All still growing. All still becoming. That's the journey. How are you doing after the Ponzi loss?" "Recovered. Slowly. Learned expensive lessons about greed and shortcuts. Now I'm teaching financial literacy to young people, helping them avoid the mistakes I made. Turns out my biggest failure became my greatest teaching tool. Like you always say, wisdom earned through suffering." Exactly. Keep teaching. Keep growing. Keep serving. That's the path. As the Lagos night settled around him, Chidi whispered a prayer of gratitude to his ancestors, for the journey, for the lessons, for the transformation. And somewhere in Ibadan, Zainab whispered her own prayer, gratitude for the fall that taught her to walk properly, for the humiliation that taught her humility, for the man she'd wounded who'd shown her what true greatness looked like. 2 people. 1 painful encounter. Multiple lessons. Complete transformation. The millionaire woman had mocked the construction worker. Karma had answered, not with revenge, but with education. And both had emerged wiser, humbler, better. This is how the ancestors teach. This is how the universe corrects. This is how karma works when we're willing to learn. This story is dedicated to every person working an honest job while facing disrespect from those who've forgotten that all work carries dignity. To the construction workers, the cleaners, the drivers, the laborious, your work builds the world. Never let anyone make you feel small for doing great work. And to those who've fallen from great heights, your comeback can be greater than your setback if you learn the lessons karma is teaching. Humility is not humiliation. It is wisdom. May we all learn before the lessons become too painful. May we all teach with the wisdom earned through our own struggles. May we all remember that we rise together or not at all. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I am pretty sure you enjoyed it. We have a lot of other interesting and beautiful stories lined for you already, so click on the image showing on your screen to watch the next one.